All right, so we're going live a little bit early. Not really. There was a confusion with the software, I guess, and we actually meant to go live at 6:45, but it ended up for some reason showing 7:45. So whatever, it is what it is. We're gonna go early anyway because who knows who would show up that late in general. But we're gonna get it out there, and in worst case scenario, people can watch the replay. But hopefully y'all come join us so that we can ask some questions. Today we have McKlane. People call him Hobbit Bobbit or something. I don't know. It's like his last name is he can say it. I can't say it. But I'm really excited because he's super supportive of the REISIF community. He's super supportive of the real estate community, and he's just really huge go-giver. So I think this is going to be a really awesome one here. He's got a really awesome story in general. So let's go ahead and bring him on here. And for those that are watching or that will start watching, always, share this if you can. Let people know that we're about to be dropping some gems on you guys, listening to McKlane's story. So let's do it. What's up, dude? I appreciate you going to the office. I know you didn't really have a choice. You kind of got kicked out, but appreciate you being here, man.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So we were kind of talking on Facebook. It's like we got to figure out, like, what do we say? Like what is the McKlane story? And you kind of wrote some stuff out for me, and I was like, okay, so I think a good story for this is really like how to go from someone who's in their W-2 to really just kicking up deals and doing it in a market which everyone says, well, you can't start and getting deals in. Like that seems to be a forte. It seems like you've kind of found a niche in your markets. We're going to start talking about that. And otherwise, man, I'd love to start off with just understanding your background, right? Like who was McKlane starting off as a kid? When did he start getting interested in like real estate, and when did he actually start closing deals? So let's kind of start from the beginning, as early back as you want up to now. If you remember when you're in the womb, yeah. We'll do it.
No. Well, I'll go ahead and set the background. I'm a first-generation American-born citizen. My parents are both orphans, actually. Mom is from Mexico. Dad's from Vietnam. He came over just after the Vietnamese War. And my sister, she's 2 years older than me. We both pretty much had to grind out everything, learn everything, because both our parents didn't go to school, and they barely graduated high school. My dad didn't even learn English until like 11th grade, and he'd been in the U.S. for 8 or 9 years. But yeah, both my family, they didn't have any kind of education, any kind of formal education. It was just, hey, go to school. You're gonna, the typical American, go to school, get your education, go find a good job. So I actually went to college, got my degree. I was a pre-med, which I know you were pre-med too. I graduated a year early. I took my graduate test, didn't get in the first go around. And I was like, you know what? I graduated a year early. I graduated debt-free because I'd worked as a pharmacy tech full-time. And I was like, is this really what I want to do? And I mean, I burned myself out. I didn't want to go to school. I was just like, is this what I want to be doing? But what really caught the bug for me was, as far as the whole entrepreneurship, I always had that. In high school, I was selling ammo on the side. I was flipping stuff left and right, just to go make a quick buck. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I also read Robert Kiyosaki's books, and I was like, why would I want to work for corporate America for like 40, 50 years of my life?
Yeah.
So that kind of set the seed there. But I remember. Go ahead.
Was the pharmacy stuff your full-time job? Was that what you did before real estate?
Yeah, so I was a pharmacy tech working in a retail pharmacy, like 40 hours a week from 17 years old to 21. And then as soon as I graduated, I got out. I was like, I'm done.
Okay, so you got out after you graduated, and you went on to do something different.
Yeah, that's how I got into sales.
Gotcha. Okay, I was like, wait, because I actually didn't know the pharmacy tech part until just now. Maybe I just forgot about it.
Yeah, no, I'd never mentioned it. So
yeah, I was like, dang, okay. Cool. All right. So cool. So go ahead. So you're a
You're good.
pharmacy tech.
So
You were slinging drugs, or I mean, ammo in high school. Well, kind of actually drugs. I mean, pharmacy
yeah,
tech is kind of.
yeah.
I'm not wrong. And then you kind of decided that's not right for you. What's next?
So yeah, I was in my senior year, and it was my senior year of college. And in the last semester, I was just cruising. I was like, I don't care if I get a B or like A plus. Like I don't care. I was on bigger pockets. I was looking up deals. I was looking up how to make money in real estate. So I actually graduated, and I didn't go get like a pharmacy job or anything medical related. I
Hmm.
actually was like, I'm gonna go into sales so I can make money and then go do whatever I want later on. Like complete 180. My grandparents were flipping out. They were like, "What are you doing?" So my game plan was to go into pharmaceutical sales because everybody's like, hey, they make buku's money, and I was like, okay, I got a pharmacy tech degree or a license. I've got a degree. I just need sales experience. So I drove to, it's like East Dallas. It's an hour away from where I live. But I remember showing up to my boy Jimmy. So I remember showing up to this debt collection place, total boiler room. Like everybody in there was former convicts. They had assault charges. They'd been through 2, 3 divorces.
So you
And
fit right in.
yeah, for real. Brand new graduate, engaged. I was like, what did I just get myself into? But the hiring manager was like, hey, you don't have any experience, but it'll get you in the door wherever you want to go. He's like, I can do 7.25 an hour,
Oh my
and
gosh.
7.25 an hour, and you get 0.001% of the commission. And
Wow.
I did it for like 3 months, and that was like the longest they'd had. But I went and closed like $125,000 deal, and the second week, and they were like, "Where's this guy from?" Like,
Yeah, right. Like who is this guy? He's nothing like our other breeds. It's because he's half Hispanic, half Vietnamese. It's rare.
but yeah, I'll shorten up the next part because from there I took that experience. I went into medical device sales, and that really kickstarted my entrepreneur spirit. And the real estate side is I was selling medical device. Was it B2C? And so I was talking to patients, and they were like end of life. They were like, I wish I could just go to the grocery store. I wish I could go outside. And
Hmm.
that just constantly grinded on me. I was like, I don't want to be 60, 65 and barely be able to afford basic medical care or take care
Right.
of myself. Um, so that was about a year and a half stint. Made my money, got out, moved on to software sales for property management, and it's a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company. And I was there for the last year and a half, and I actually put in my notice on May 15th.
Oh, so you're a CEO there.
Now, yeah, I was a
Uh,
scrub. I was on the
so
sales team.
and you put your notice on May 15th of this year is when you left your W-2. And
Yeah.
when did you actually start wholesaling? Is it January is when you really started like trying to wholesale?
No, so let's see. I started dabbling like wholesaling in December of 2018, and it took me like 7, 8 months to finally close my first deal. And granted, this was in a market of 30,000 people. I do not recommend that for anybody that's watching. Don't start in a market of 30,000 people.
Right.
Um, but I closed my
Pretty
first
small.
deal. Was it it was July of 2019, and then I
Okay.
just 2, 3 deals a month, just boom, 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 boom. But it wasn't consistent. It was like I somehow got this deal. I don't know how, but I got a deal.
Right. Wasn't really sure how exactly it was happening, but you knew the general concepts and you knew you could do it, consistently or maybe on and off, and you're still gonna pluck stuff up as it comes. And
Yeah.
and let everyone know real quick, because I don't think we mentioned it, what market you're in.
So I'm in the DFW market, but I'm about 30 miles east of Dallas.
Okay.
So I'm not right in the middle of Dallas.
Okay. So then let's start digging into what everyone wants to talk about, right? The kind of how you actually got your first deal, what kind of marketing were you doing? What was your idea of like how wholesaling worked? Did you think that you just bought data and then you just market to it? Did you do cold calling, door knocking, SMS? Like, what did you do to get your first deal?
So my first deal, I actually was posting on Facebook groups and whatnot. Um, I got contracts, but they were just too high. I had no idea what a buyer would come in at. I just always was like, hey, this is a good number. which was very, very naive. It was so naive looking back on it. But my first deal that I got, numbers were perfect. Everything was there. We even got a car in the deal. And that one was actually driving for dollars. It was driving for dollars and door knocking.
Okay. So you're driving for dollars, door knocking. You're like, oh, that looks like a nice vehicle. I wonder if we can get it with the house. And then, and then knocked on the door, locked it up. And what was your profit on the first deal?
$7,000.
$7,000 for your first deal. Okay. Now, did that put you net positive, or did you spend, over $7,000 trying to learn this game first?
No, I think I was only in the whole like 2,500, like $3,000.
Okay.
But still, like, I had a lot of credit card debt because I was in between jobs for like a couple months, and so I still had that. So
yeah. So the benefit though is like you seen like, okay, like I can make money in this, and then what did you do? Continue on? Did you continue doing the same exact thing to produce deals monthly after that, or did you go move to something else?
Yep, I just kept doing the same thing: cold call, driving for dollars, door knocking, and that was it.
Okay.
All the way up until, was it March of 2020? I finally added SMS, but it was always door knock, cold call, driving for dollars.
Okay. And what did your process look like in that? Would you cold call before you would door knock, or did you go door knock and then try and cold call? Like, what did it look like? Like, if you had your subject property, like how'd you break that down to decide what to do?
So I would target. I actually have a cadence. I have a 7-day cadence, kind of like my own little psychological warfare on that prospect. So I would go driving for dollars, go find 200, 300 houses, and I would target just those 300 for, let's say, 2-3 weeks. And I would text them off Google Voice, call them in the morning, call them in the afternoon, so 3 touches. And then the next day I'd text them again, and then I'd call them the next 2 days. And it was just relentless until these people either picked up, or whenever I would go on the 7th day or 8th day to go door knock on their house, they knew exactly who I was.
Okay. I see
So
what
it
you're
was
saying.
just relentless.
Yeah, so you really just honed in on that really heavily, which isn't a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's fantastic, and it worked for you. So about how many months went by that you did that tactic? You said not until March or May of this year did you switch to like a different tactic, or did you start looking at other things? I mean, like, why wasn't it consistent for you?
I would say it really wasn't consistent just because I was still working the W-2 at the time. And so I was driving. I would have to leave my house about 6:30 in the morning, get there about 8, and then work until 5. And so I'd only have from 5 to like 8 to drive home, cold call, go drive for dollars in the evenings. And it was just a lack of time. And I was like, I've got to be able to do this where I can either do it virtually or be able to close over the phone on like the whole transaction over the phone, because I'm wasting too much time going to the property, driving. Like, there was no system. It was just mentally grinding to get the next deal.
So why do you think that tactic like, I mean, you're in a really hot market. Everyone wants to be in Texas. Everyone wants to be in DFW or Houston or San Antonio or one of the other big, they're like, oh, it's a huge population. I want to hop in there. And they're like, oh, there's so many people here. I'm not getting any deals. Then you come in and, you do something as simple as just driving to find, the ugly houses, cold calling them, and you're locking up deals. Did you feel as though like the methodology that you're using was sustainable, or like what made you start thinking you wanted to add SMS? Was it just because you started seeing online, or like how come your tactic in your mind wasn't just like hire a driver and have them door knock for you and then you just cold call?
Well, I kind of moved off driving for dollars in that instance. Is whenever I started seeing that the code violation lists and the driving for dollars list was very similar, and so I just axed that out and I said, okay, what's the most effective way for 2020? And like, personally myself, I hate being on the phone. Like, if my wife calls me, I'd tell her, I'm like, hey, can you like text me?
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you calling me? Is someone dying? Like,
yeah. What is this? What are we, barbarians? Okay, so like, okay, well, code enforcement list, pretty much the same thing as D for D. It's just someone else is doing it for you, so you leverage that in order to gain more time. And now you're adding in SMS, and is SMS, did that kind of overrun? Now SMS kind of took over your tactic. Did that become number one tactic at that point because you're able to do it throughout the day while you're at work?
Yeah, I'll actually tell the story of my first SMS campaign. So it was March. I pulled a stack list. So I knew what stack lists were in February, March. I didn't know the science behind it, but complete fluke, I believe. 1%, top 1% of chances happening here. But I pulled a list off PropStream, stacked list, and it was like 59 leads. And I
Yeah.
threw it in the SMS platform, and I was like, I was at work, and I hit it from the 3 to 4. I just clicked it, just okay. And later that evening, a lady was like, "Yes, I'm ready to sell." And the next week, I had it locked up, and it was a 30K assignment. And I was like,
Boom.
"I'm done with this." I was like, "SMS is here to stay." Like,
Yeah. I'm going to send 4,000 tomorrow. I'm going to lock up like 14 deals tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. Okay. So you locked up a 30 popper, and do you remember what list those were on? Was code enforcement and something else, or?
I know it was just strictly PropStream. It was like high equity, and it was abstract liens. She had a credit card charge off for $7,000.
Okay. Now run us through that deal as far as how you kind of negotiated it and everything. Like what was the conversation like? How did that SMS went out? Like, did she respond back and you got on the phone right away, or how did that look?
So I was actually surprised that someone had responded to it, because in my head it's, "Hey, screw you! Like, don't message me like you're a scam or whatever." Especially out of 59 messages, I was like, "What?" Like, first batch ever. So I texted her like, "Hey, we're looking for some more properties in the area, contacting you about your property," and she's like, "Yes." So I said, "Okay, do you have 5 minutes or 7 minutes?" Because I always try to get them on the phone immediately. You can never close someone just over text. Um, so I got her on the phone and was like, "Hey." So for me, I always try and get price, timeline, motivation, condition of the property before I even go out to the property, because otherwise it's a waste of time. And ARV was 305, 310. I knew the numbers were right on. And talked to her. She's just like, "Hey, my second husband passed away last year.
Hmm.
I've already moved out. I'm ready to go." She's like, "I just moved out last week." And I was like, "Well, do you need some help moving, whatnot?" She's like, "Yeah, if you could come look at the house and kind of help me find out what I need to move out." And I was like, "Yeah, we can help you do that." And we got to the price, and I was like, "I just want to make sure we're in the same ballpark. I just want to make sure you know and understand that I'm looking to make an investment on this. We're looking to, this is what puts food on our table." And of course, ARV's 305. She goes, "Well, I'd like to get like at least 150 for it." And so, so I put it on like mute, and I think my boy Jimmy's on here too, but I had her on mute, and I was like, "Hold on," like I was like, "How bad is the house?" And she's like, "It's a complete war zone." And of course, I show up, it's like 25 grand to repairs, like bare minimum.
Yeah.
And but I came in, I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "I'll do 160," and I was like, "I'll just give you an extra 10, like if you'll sign it right now." And she was like, "Yeah, sure. Here you go." Um, yeah, so it was a 30K popper, closed it in the middle of COVID. Literally, I locked it up. 5 minutes later, we had a buyer walk through the house. We assigned it. The next day, Dallas County declared shelter in place, and everybody went ballistic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was it at that like what was going through your mind at that point where you were like, okay, um, you know, motivation? What was your? Did you have any sort of aha moment when it comes to like what is motivation, or like up to this point, did you have anybody that was that motivated that was like ready to sign right now, or were they all people you kind of had to like try and scrimp and pull the maybe the $3,000 deal out of them or whatever it is?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely had some, because I was doing just little deals like 3,500, like 5 grand, like the most I'd done was seven. And so I was doing a lot of volume, and a lot of it was just grinding it out. And I was like, there's got to be signs to this, especially
Yeah.
whenever I pulled a list that niche. And I was like, 30K, like, can we get three of these like right now?
Yeah, like, yeah. Well, yeah, just send 4,000 next, tomorrow, and you're good. It's going to be like 150K in there. And to be honest with you, there would be. They're
Yeah.
probably just not going to happen right now, but they're guaranteed is probably at least that many in there. So okay, so we got that big 30 popper. Now, like, what happened after that? You got like 30 grand. You're like, okay, I knew that I was having success driving for dollars. I'm in a really saturated market. Saturated with quotations. I just hit a 30 popper. The average deal size in this market, 7 to 9 grand. I clearly am moving in a good direction here. Did you duplicate that process, or did you like start chasing something else, or what was next after that?
So after that, was it? I took everything and I said, okay. After I had that 30K popper, I was like, okay, I got the money because I was bootstrapping it. I had Google Voice. I was like Gmail. I didn't have a logo. I didn't have anything, and I was just bootstrapped the hell out of my marketing.
Okay.
And I didn't even have a dollar until July. But I mean, total bootstrap. I can't express it enough. But I had that 30K, and I was like, okay, I've got to be able to replicate this. Like, this is not a fluke. Off of 59 people, like SMS, like that, I was like, I need to narrow this down. And so that's kind of how I stumbled on. I guess I came across like a YouTube video for REI Sift, and it was like an interview you had with Josh, and I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, this is the shit.
There might be something here. I'm sensing something. Okay, so how much were you spending a month, like around that time frame? You said you're bootstrapping it, you're pretty lean. How much a month did you end up getting up to in that period of time?
As far as like my
And
marketing budget.
yeah, as far as budget and everything.
So my marketing, not including like prop stream, Google Voice is free. I was probably doing $150, $250, like between lists from PropStream and skip tracing it and sending out SMS. I mean, I was sending out like $30 worth of SMS a month.
Yeah. So you were just really kind of like narrow, focused in on those really specific people, sending out SMS. And were you still calling people, like specific
Mhm.
amount of people? Like, were at that time, were you focusing on any of the people that you couldn't get phone numbers for, or were you doing anything outside of just like sending to those 49?
No, so like I had other lists that I would pull, and it was like code violations, like tax delinquencies. But I actually never even realized that if you go send something to skip trace, what happens to the numbers that don't get skip traced, or if you don't have records. I didn't know that until I joined REI Sift, and I was like, that's a thing.
Yeah. A lot of people lose a lot of money there. You know, if you want to dominate a big market, do what other people aren't doing. That's like focus on, the records that no one's getting phone numbers for, right? And put them through a process. Yeah. So, okay, cool. So you're solo in this right now. You don't have a team. You're bootstrapping 150, $200 a month. That was in May of this year, I think you said.
That was up until I had that model up until about April.
Up until April. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that? Did you hire a VA to start doing SMS for you, or what was moving on? No, nothing. You're
Nope,
like,
I was
oh,
still bootstrapping it.
I'm just gonna continue to do this all by my lonesome. I got 30K. I'm just gonna keep it underneath my mattress.
Yeah,
Um,
straight up.
go buy some bamboo, build myself a little shack behind my house. Okay. All right. So, all right. What happened if that was in April? Like, what happened in May and then June?
So I'll be honest with you. So let me start from my day of resignation from my W-2.
Okay.
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 So like
Yeah.
I woke up at 7. I already had like my 8 months, 6 months of in the reserve. And so I was like, I can quit any day. We were working from home, and I legit was not doing anything at my laptop for work for my W-2 from like March through April. And I hope my employer never sees that.
We want
But
all that money back.
yeah, for real. But like I would legit wake up for team meetings. I'd go to sleep immediately after under my desk, and I'd just be like, all right, honey, I'm gonna go to sleep right now. Wake up at 9, 10. But yeah, the day of resignation, I was like, I knew what day I was gonna quit. I was like, I'm gonna quit on May 15th because my wife's birthday is May 17th. I was like, I'm gonna quit on May 15th. And
Okay. What
so
day was it?
it was Thursday. I think it was Thursday.
Thursday? It's a
Yeah.
weird day to quit. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to either do it on a Monday or a Friday. But okay.
But it was May 15th. No, it was a Monday. It was Monday. It was the next Monday. I was like, I'm just gonna wait until Monday. But
Okay.
okay, so I was like, I'm ready to go. I've got everything in line. My wife's like, you've got the reserve. We're good. Financially, she knew like, okay, we're okay. Like he's gonna go jump off. He's already got insurance, everything. We're good to go. And so I quit. May, June came around. June, I slacked. If I had to look myself in the mirror and said like, did you do everything you could? I would not be able to look at myself for June. But somehow I have asked the month and I still pulled 22K out of the air. And I actually know how I did that. It was kind of a challenge to myself. I challenged myself. It's kind of stupid, but I was short of 2,000 friends, and I was like, on Facebook, I was like 1,800 friends, and I was like, you know what? Let me get to 200. Let me see if I can pull some JV deals out of here. And 22K later.
So you JV'd, you JV'd, did you specifically like search for people in your market and just add them as friends that and watch from the pull deals and just put out on Facebook, hey, I'll sell your deals for you?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. That's a good nugget. That's a good nugget to like to dominate a local market. Like simply just say, hey, I got buyers.
Yeah, and the last couple of months I've been really working on establishing like, hey, if it's in this area, you call me.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay, so then you still scraped in June. You still scraped out some deals. What about May? We like there was April and then June. What happened in May? That was just like you're just
May was
quitting.
kind of like, well, I was like, I think I pulled 11, 12K out of it, and I was just like, because I was
Yeah.
coaching, I was like, I got my 30 popper. I closed like another 10, 15 grand, 45 grand. And I was like, I'm good. I'm just going to coast. And then May quit. And I was like, oh shit, this is real. Like, this is all up to me now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on my own.
Right. 100%. And when did you and I have our one-on-one?
We didn't actually have our one-on-one until it was the end of May.
Was
It
it
was
in May?
literally, it was like 2 weeks after I quit. I was like, hey, like I just quit.
Okay. All right. So then, so what do you think? Let's step back a second and let's just kind of start off like if someone either has a business that's already operating because you ended up having basically right now your business is roughly between that 30 and 50,000 a month kind of bubble, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of where you're at. As a solo person, you're only spending roughly $500 a month in marketing or in expenses,
Yeah.
right? Right. And does that include your office space?
My office is only like $200 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
total
in general,
budget's like 1,000.
yeah. Either way, you're spending practically nothing and doing consistent months either way, right?
Yeah.
You're what anybody like anybody would dream still to be able to be in a position where you can just know exactly what kind of revenue you're going to be making. It's going to be, a six-figure job within a matter of 6 months. And frankly, not I don't know how to say it, like frankly, like you're doing it in such a way where if you wanted to scale up more than that, you can, but it seems to me like maybe you're doing it in a way that's like methodical so that you still maintain the right amount of money you're spending, and you can track it, kind of like what you're saying with the estimates. Like, I know I could duplicate this, how do I duplicate this, and you've continued to do that. So if someone was starting off, what would be their process, right? If you were to like say, hey, you're just starting, you're in a hot market, like somewhere in Texas, maybe Miami, maybe it's Tampa, maybe it's, I don't know, not Delaware, like Philly, California. Like, how would you point them in a direction? Like, what would be this like really intro things to get from nothing, no marketing, no data, no nothing, to starting a marketing campaign?
So are we bootstrapping it or do I have like a budget?
Bootstrapping. You got
hell,
no.
okay, I love this.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, let's just say you got $500 a month, same budget you have now.
Okay.
Most people can scrape between 100, let's say 150, $200.
Dude, I was Ubering to make my marketing budget last year. Like in Q1, Q2 of 2019, I was Ubering.
Yeah, you could get an
top of my
Uber
WC.
job in D4D while you're Ubering.
Yeah, that's what I did. And my wife would be like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "I'm driving for dollars. I'm trying to find a house." Like,
yeah, 100%. If you want it, you'll get it. And that's a great tip right there. For those that don't have money, join Uber, and especially if you're in a big market, like it wouldn't work really well in my market because there's not enough people flying in here. But in like a market like yours, hell yeah. Freaking Uber, drive around all those neighborhoods, look at properties, tell people, hey, I buy houses. If you see one, let me know, pass out business cards. Like, hell yeah. That's like a great way to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just going to come down to like, how bad do you really want it? I mean, I was driving 2 hours a day, working 8 hours. and I still found 2 hours a day to go and make cold calls, and I'm married. Like, come on, for people that don't have kids, come on, like.
Yeah, 100%. So
But
then, okay, so what would be the process? What would be the process?
so first off, I would definitely network. I would network the hell out of the area. Be like, hey, where's the deals going at, whatnot. Find out who the big players are, and then if I was bootstrapping it, I'd get Google Voice, so it's free, or my cell phone, whichever one. I've really like the county data. So for me, that's like tax delinquency and code violations. But I would go and take that, skip trace it. It may be like what 20,000 records. So I would narrow that down. I'd be like, I only want people that are 2 years behind on taxes and they owe at least 3 to 5 grand, because the average person in the U.S. makes 55 grand a year, minus tax or whatever their take home pay is about 2,500, 3,500 bucks. So if you can find that nice little threshold, that's going to be a chunk of their money going just to pay the taxes. That's who I would target.
Right, because they're the person who's not going to have the extra money to be able to pay it. They're the one that's a psychological play. That's a really good tip.
So, but yeah, I would just cold call and door knock. Like, I wouldn't even SMS. I would just cold call, and I would just be relentless. Pick like a top 500 or 1,000, especially if I'm trying to get my first deal or a deal in a market, and I have all the time in the world. Just cold call and door knock.
Okay, and what you just mentioned is like, because I mean you could even skip trace those by what's up, Eric? You could skip trace those manually even if you wanted to, right? Using True People Search or whatever, and you could reduce your budget if you're bootstrapping that much more. So what about if someone has a little bit, because that's like less than $100 a month budget right there, what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
You're like, so what if somebody has, what if someone says, okay, I am going to do Uber, or I'm going to cut back on my, I don't know, Starbucks drinking, while I'm drinking a Starbucks, whatever it is, they're going to cut something out so that they have an extra $150, $200 a month to have their business and start kind of producing revenue. Which, by the way, I'm small plug for myself here. I actually have a video on YouTube called "How to Start a Six-Figure Company with $150 or with $300 and then $150 a month thereafter." It's a really good video. Just search my name, Tyler Austin, on YouTube. But I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you have a budget, let's say, because I was bootstrapping it. Like, I didn't even skip trace. Like, I would hand skip trace everything on advanced background check and save myself like 17 cents per skip trace, and it would take me 2 minutes to find. Total waste of time. But yeah, if you got a budget, like, I'm total REI SIF plug here, but if I had the money, I would go get PropStream, I'd go get REI Sift, and I'd use a Google Voice or get a dialer. Like, you want to be the most effective with your money, especially if you're bootstrapping it or you've got a small budget. But the most important thing is understanding your data. You don't want to have 10,000 records and you've got to comb through them all. I want to know the top 500 people that are probably going to sell me their house in the next 30 days because I need to make that payment, or I've got a credit card payment, or I've got some debt to pay, or my family's counting on it. Otherwise, there's no food on the table.
Right. And on a note about data and understanding data and stuff, like, what is the ratio right now in your market? Because you're in a pretty big market. I know you don't have all of the data, which is another really good point, right? Because you have a smaller budget, right? You're trying to stay within a smaller budget, I should say. Like, how much of your data was clean data versus incomplete data? Are you focusing on trusting companies at all? What are you doing the milking process? Like, explain that maybe to people, because these are like the things that I think that in a market that's really saturated, if you're just starting off and you're by yourself, you talk about 10,000 records, right? Having those out of that 10,000 records, there's going to be pretty good. Some of them that are not complete, or it could be a company or trust, and you skip trace it, you don't get phone numbers back. I mean, what about the person who doesn't understand that concept of data itself? Can you let people know? Because I feel like sometimes maybe I overcomplicate it when I explain it. Maybe
Yeah.
you could. Yeah.
No, so that's fine. It actually goes back to our one-on-one we had. I was on a different provider. I won't say the name, but I was on there and I was like, hey, Tyler, like, I'm really interested in REI Sift. And I was honestly surprised that you were like, hey, like, let's hop on a call. I thought it was going to be a 15-minute pitch-a-thon. Like, here's why you need to do my product. But you actually sat down for like 2 hours with me. And I was like, oh my word, like, I just got brain dumped. And
Yeah.
it was, I think within 7 minutes, I was like, I'm losing money immediately. Like, I was losing money on the other platform. I was like, I've got leads that have went through the cracks. They didn't import. I was like, that could have been a $10,000 deal, or 20,000 or 30,000, because I'd upload like 5,000 records on here onto the other platform, and I was like, I was missing records. But for REI Sift, like, once you broke it down, you were like, hey, not all your data is going to be clean. It's not perfect. But being able to break it down and say, like, your data is never going to be perfect until you clean it, like, no matter where you get it from. So you may have trusts, LLCs, like you're saying. If you skip trace something, how do you know it didn't get skip traced? Like, how do you keep that in your records? For me, I had Excel sheets. I just called off the list. No number,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to call them. I
Yeah.
wouldn't
No
call
number. I
people.
just moved to the next one.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call them. So I looked earlier this afternoon at some lists from last year, and I probably had 3,500, and 700 of them didn't have any numbers, and I just left them.
Yep. There's money in that. There's money in that for sure. We just had somebody who was telling a story about how they uploaded like some vacant data from like 2 years ago or something, like a year and a half ago or something, and they're like, holy crap, these are like stacking on other records. I'm like, yeah, it will. It means they're vacant, but if they're not vacant in REI Sift, it might be something different. But I think that's an important concept for people to understand, is like, your data doesn't come perfect. If you want to dominate a market, then again, do the things other people aren't doing. Manage your data properly, upload your data, understand what's clean, send it off, for skip tracing, whatever you don't get numbers back from. What is up with those records? Are they, what's going on with them? It's because you can pluck those out, you move them over here, and you could capture, $30,000, $15,000, $60,000, $40,000. Who knows how much? You don't know, right? And that's because you don't know. And when you don't know and you make an assumption that there's nothing there, we all know what that means, right? So it's like, by adding that process in there, it's a very simple addition, especially if you're just starting off. So if you were to, you're closing, deals, you were making money. How did your business shift? How did it shift up to where your budget is now, even though it's not super high? Like, how did you go from, $150 up to, $500 plus, your office space here? And what is your business actively doing right now? What is a process, like your typical day of receiving data, integrating data into your business, and trying to produce leads, which nobody else is? And if you have any of those KPIs, metrics you can share to show kind of the results of what kind of deals you're generating off of how many, how much effort.
Yeah. So let me set the stage for that. So I knew kind of my KPIs for Q1, Q2, and it was insane. I made like 150 calls in January and pulled 10 contracts out. But June, I was like, I probably need to get this dialed down. Like, I need to actually get my stuff in line. And that's actually whenever I did the auto lead challenge, the July auto lead challenge. And that broke me down. Like, mentally, I don't think I've even told you. So like the third or fourth day, I just was like, I'm a complete failure. Like, what have I done? Like, I don't know any, like, straight up. My wife was like, are you going to work today? And I was like, no, I've got to restart everything. I was like, this is terrible.
Everywhere.
Legit. I was like, I've got to fix this. I was like, I can't do this for us. And I completely changed all my processes as far as intake, like making my actual process videos, because everything was in my head. I even do that for my private life, and my wife's like, you never write anything down. Like, everything's in your head. So I position myself more as like a business person, say, hey, let's track this down. What's my best time spent at? So the first week of the challenge, I went and hired a VA with Andrea. Took her about a month to get ramped up, and she's bringing in about 3 leads a day, working part-time for me. So that helps me. Because I wasn't consistent. There's days where you're just like, I made 15 or 20 follow-up calls. Like, I'm good. Like, I did my work for today.
Mm-hmm.
But you still got to pick up that phone. And I was like, I need a VA if I'm not going to do it consistently. There's days I still hop on it. Every other day I try and hop on, make about 200, 300 calls to my 2 stacks just to help out. But she's bringing in 3 leads a day. SMS bringing about 4 to 5 cold ones a day. And then me on the dialer, I mean, I'll pull 2, 3 leads in a 2-hour span. Just
yeah. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like. So as far as now, is she full time or is she part time?
Part time.
So she's part time and she's pulling in 2 or 3 leads a day. Now, what is she calling? Like, what does she focus on calling?
High equity absentee, just straight blanket list.
So you have her doing the essentially the stuff that the equity bucket, essentially what you have her doing, but you're focusing that equity bucket a little bit deeper by doing absentee filter on top of that. What about SMS? What is SMS primarily focused on right now?
SMS, I've kind of got like a psychological warfare going on with the vacants. So I've got the vacants running through a SMS and cold call, like 7, about 12-day cadence. And it's just relentless on that. SMS, I'm also doing my niche ones. So like water shutoffs, tax liens, credit card charge-offs. That's pretty much what SMS is strictly for.
Are you doing those as an ouchie, or are you doing those just the whole list? Just out of curiosity.
Ouchies, yeah.
So it's an ouchies campaign. For those that don't know, an ouchies campaign to me, I'm a dad. I got a 4-year-old. She turns 5 next week. But everyone better sing happy birthday for my daughter, I swear. No, I'm just kidding. So an ouchie is essentially it's a list that isn't on any other list, but it has a vexation. So it could be, you said water shutoff. That means that it's only on water shutoff. That's it. It's not on high equity. It's not on anything. It's just water shutoff, because all of his water shutoffs that are on something else is a stacked bucket, and that's going in its own campaign. And that's where he's probably focusing a lot of his energy. Now, where do you cold call? If you're going to hop on a dialer, do you end up dialing inside of the that equity campaign, or do you end up dialing in one of those niche lists?
So I'll dial into like a niche list or like a 2-stack or vacant. I've really been focusing on vacants right now. That's been I think I've got like 700 vacants, and I've just been targeting them. Just
let me ask you a question. This is a big one. Why do you do that? Like, why would you go through that multiple times like that? What is the point? I mean, you've already called through it once or twice, I'm sure. You've already SMS'd it once or twice, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, and that's actually kind of why I have a sales cadence, is because your average investor is going to go call it once or twice, and they're going to call a list of 1,000 people, and they may talk to 20, 30 people. Like for me, I'm going to ride that lead down to the ground until they know my name. So if you call them once or twice, they're not going to know who you are. But if I show up at their door and I've called them 4 or 5 times, 6 times, and I may have talked to them once or twice, I'm probably going to get the deal over you.
Yeah, or you might not even talk to maybe 75% of them ever.
Yeah.
So it's like, people too often, especially in saturated markets, they literally just play the throw and see what sticks game. And that is not the proper way to market. Y'all, anyone here in the chat, feel free to share. Anyone here ever get coupons from Burger King in the mail? Anybody?
God, I hate Burger King.
Pizza Hut. What's that other one? Huh?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. I wish I got Chick-fil-A coupons. We don't get none of those, but the other pizza joint, you get them all the time, right? Every single household in the area. You know what they're banking on? The one time that you just got off work, you had a long ass day, you don't feel like cooking, you're freaking starving. And you walk in, you like, coupons? Wendy's is another one. Oil changers.
Oil change, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're waiting for the moment, the opportunity. That's what you're doing as marketers. You're waiting for the moment. You're waiting for the opportunity. And if you're not calling, if you're not running them down, just because you didn't reach the other 800, right? Waiting for REI SIP coupons. Just because you didn't hit the other 800 doesn't mean they don't want to sell. It means you suck at marketing. It means you're not doing enough. It means you got to do something else to be in front of them, so that once they are ready to pick up the phone, once they are ready to call that Facebook ad, once they are ready to respond to the direct mail, you have to get in front of them in multiple different directions. That's how you dominate a market. He focuses really heavy on vacant right now because he knows if they're vacant and he drives past them and he sees they are vacant, it's only a matter of getting in contact with somebody and asking the question. Until he gets a yes or he gets a no, right? Then he has no idea. If he gets a no, at least he gets a number. And now he's going to follow up. There's going to go on a follow-up sequence. If he gets a yes, then fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about your KPIs on your cold calling versus your SMS when it comes to like how many leads it's taking to get a deal. Do you know that off the top of your head?
Roughly. I know because I was playing like secondary, tertiary markets. So Q1, Q2, I know off the top of my head. It was insane. I was like, for every 15 calls, I had a lead. Like it was just like, yeah, I was like live pickup. For DFW, like in the heart of Dallas, since I've shifted over to the main market, it's like 1 in 45 conversations, like live connects for a cold call. And then SMS, I don't know exactly off the top of my head what my KPIs are right now for SMS in Dallas. But
could you say like roughly how much money it's taking you to get a deal in SMS right now? Roughly?
It's not much because I only spend, was it like $8 a day on SMS?
Okay.
Like 8, and then I only message Monday through Friday. So like $300, $400, like tops.
Okay. Yeah. So not bad. So pretty realistic. Let's answer a couple of these questions real quick. That way, in case they have to do something. First of all, Daniel says, McKlane's word has to be relentless. Oh, his word has to be relentless. Yeah, he does say relentless a lot. Good stuff, guys. Got a jet. Eric, what are you, a plane? Okay, don't jet. Okay, we walk away. We leave. Okay, so okay. Or no, not this one. This one first. Does the VA pull the list too? Or, oh yeah, we talked about that in the challenge, how to pull. I got 2 days behind when the weekend homework miss. I was way out of my league at that point. Yeah. The challenge is no joke. The challenge will kick your ass. The challenge will kick your ass, but you'll come out stronger and better. Thanks for this, by the way, too. Appreciation. No problem. Thank you so much. Okay. With such a tight budget, assuming you had data for months, would you tackle multiple campaigns, stacked, vacants, and ouchies, or you'd rather focus on going deep instead of wide?
So I'm going to assume I don't have a VA if I'm on a tight budget. I'm going to say I'm bootstrapping it still. For right now, I would honestly focus on a stacked list, like a heavily stacked. I'm talking a 3 stack or more in my vacants. Like I would just go deep. That's what I did in January and February. And I mean, you're bootstrapping it.
And you can even dig deeper than that too. If you're really in a budget and you're willing to like put in the hustle, you could say, oh, I have 5 stacked and vacant, and I'm going to go door knock them all today. Or over the weekend, I'm going to cold call every one of them. I'm going to deep search all their family members. I'm going to do everything to get yeses and nos from all 5, and then document that whole process of what you've done. And that right there is what we call a do not give up or go no-go campaign, depending on what you prefer to say. I say go no-go, but that's a really awesome tactic, and it's a huge part of our business, and it should be a part of everybody's business.
I actually call it my HVTs, my high value targets.
High HVTs. There you go. Yeah. What does your SMS look like? What's up, Jacob? Are you doing it yourself or is the VA?
Let's see. So I actually don't have a VA that does my SMS. I still handle that. So I send out, I'm kind of strategic about that too. So I send out about 300 a day. So I'll send 150 out around noon, and then I'll send out 150 around 4:30, 5 o'clock, whenever everybody's getting off. But I'll reply to it myself. I don't have a single VA on anything else besides cold calling. I probably need a VA for admin. I waste a lot of time on admin, I feel like, especially whenever I do an audit. But SMS, it's all on me.
Love it. My SMS has not looked good lately. I'm thinking about putting a VA there who can call them on the spot. Now, is it an SMS problem, right? Or is it something else problem, right? So if your SMS isn't looking good, think about what is not looking good there. Is it the fact that you're saying they call them on the spot? Is that because once someone says yes, no one's doing anything with it? If that's the case, whoever is calling those people, you just need the process of someone to call them right away. The casing of the SMS can happen through the SMS itself, or you can get them on the phone and you could case them there. Then if they do become a lead, then they could get passed on. But if the SMS aren't being called right now, if someone in your company is doing it, and the chance that your person talks to them, qualifies them, and then sends them to you happens, that's probably not going to happen either, right? So you got to figure out, like, look in the future, pull it back, the onion a little bit, and then figure out really what's going on. Good stuff. Hey, what's up, Carl? How you doing, brother? What's your view on that? I already answered that. How do you rotate your list between SMS platform and your cold calling platform?
So what I do is, that's actually part of my 7-day cadence, is I send out a text message just to get the quick no's out. So I use batch lead stacker for SMS. I only use them for SMS. I'm actually gonna be switching over to launch control next week. So what I do,
for some reason, anytime I hear launch control, what's that song? There's a song that pops in my head. I can't think of it. I'm gonna find it though, and I'm gonna send it in the chat.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll be like, what is this, Tyler?
What is he doing?
But I send everything on SMS through batch lead stacker right now. Once I filter out all the no's, it has a feature on there where you can export your mobile lines, your landlines, and I take that and put it into call tools and just hammer them until they say no, or like maybe ifs, and then I just cold call them probably 2-3 days. Just kind of depends how I feel that day.
Right. Now, are you tracking how many times you've SMS? Are you doing, like, are you tagging with attempt ones, attempt twos, and stuff like that? Or how do you know what data has moved from one to the other and back and all that stuff?
So I do like AA1, so cycle A and then attempt 1. So cycle A, attempt 2, 3. And I know my cadence. So I'm like, okay, if I'm on day 3, day 4, I've called them twice. I SMS them once. So I've got it that way. And so if it's like cycle B, it'll be like B attempt 1, so BA1.
Okay. When he's talking about cycles, it's like we talk about cycle A and cycle B. Cycle A is anything with phone numbers. It's a cheap method of marketing. Cycle B is anything without phone numbers, and is a more expensive type of marketing. The only time that they overlap is like direct mail, when you don't really care, and it depends on what type of data you're doing. There's also a cycle C, which we're developing out right now, and that talks about awareness marketing, and that involves like PPC, SEO, and Facebook ads. Okay. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate y'all. Thank you, Facebook user. Gold Facebook user. All right, cool. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to continue asking them. We're going to go ahead and continue on. I want to learn a little bit more about and really dig into kind of McKlane's process here. So then we started talking a little bit about data and how you're getting data now. So, like, now that you have a bunch of data, like, how are you and when are you adding more data into your company? Are you just pulling out the niche stuff, the vexations, every month, every week? How is this stuff coming in?
So I actually, after the auto lead challenge, I finally was like, hey, like, I actually put in the group, I'd never bought so much data for high equity in the last year and a half. So I bought all my high equity as soon as I got into the auto lead challenge. I was like, okay, this is a once a year thing. Pony up the money, like, just suck it up and do it. But like all the other vexations, so I get whatever I can off PropStream. So bankruptcy, divorces, liens, HOA liens, pretty much anything like that you can get off PropStream. I'll pull that about once every 2-3 months is kind of my timeline. And I've done that before. Was it REI Sift? From the county, I try and pull everything monthly, like tax delinquencies, code violations. I try and pull the county stuff like every 30 days.
As soon as they come out, you just update your data with it. Now, are you are you just getting the data and then kind of organizing a little bit, uploading it, and then filtering by clean, and then suppressing out your previous campaigns to see what's brand new data, and then skip tracing, and then like what does it look like after you download it, you get the data from your county? Are you doing that? Is your VA doing that right now?
I'm actually doing that. I don't have an admin VA.
Okay.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I waste too much time.
Okay.
Waste too much time, but so like
okay. So yeah, what does it look like then? What do you kind of do?
so what I do is I'll upload it. I'll kind of clean it up because the county comes in like just straight Excel. It's not formatted. So I'll upload it into RISIF, but I normally tag it like because you can tag your data for the people that don't have RISIF that's watching this. So you can tag it whenever you upload it. So I'll put a tag on there like, hey, this is from August 2020. And so that way, whenever I go to look at my list, I can say this is also on August 2020 or September 2020. That way I can see if it's duplicate or, hey, this is rolling over from last month. Maybe they didn't pay their fines.
Right. So you're using the 4Ws essentially when you upload, which who gave me an angry face? I swear. Kenneth Mason Jr. I'm using your full name. The 4Ws, the data management. Where did it come from? Where has it been? Where is it going? And when did it happen? That's the 4Ws of data management. You got to make sure that anytime you deal with your data, anytime you touch your data, I don't care if you're an REISIF user, not an REISIF user, in general, you have to make sure that you're tracking the 4Ws against your data so that you can always come back and see, okay, cool. This guy just sent a deal across, my email. How did he get it and I didn't? You got to be able to reverse engineer to figure that out because, that's a really kicking, it really hurts, like when that happens. We call those leaky faucets, right? How did this happen? I have a diagram that I do called the trapeze line, of a deal. And a lot of times, there's a reason why there's nets underneath, the lines, right? So if they fall, it'd be really unfortunate if there was like a little hole and they just like fell at the perfect spot and then just like fell down and hit the floor. That would be bad. It's also really bad when we lose revenue in our company. Not as bad as splattering on the floor, but at the same time, that's essentially what you're doing when you just ignore the fact of uploading your data or just managing or just buying data and not just doing anything with it, right? So you say, okay, this is the date that it happened. This is the type of list it is. If you've skip traced it yet, do you skip trace before or after you upload?
I upload everything to REISIF, clean it, and then skip trace it.
Okay, so you upload it, filter by clean data only, export it, skip trace it. I think you use batch skip tracing, right, for skip tracing right now?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Oh, you told me that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you move skip tracing providers there. Then you upload it. Do you upload it after that so that you can filter by with numbers and then tell REISIF, hey, this is skip trace data so that it tags it and can track that. And then you filter by numbers, yes, the list, and then you build your campaigns off of that, which would be W3, where is it going? So you tag your campaign tag, export it, mark it, and then you just basically redo that over and over.
Yeah, just rinse and repeat. It's like now it just seems just like on cruise control. Just where's it going? What am I doing with it? Where it's been? Versus what's this spreadsheet from? When did I pull that? What's the date?
Right. So like, what do you think has been the biggest struggle since January for you? January to now, because you're getting consistent deals. You're bouncing really between that 30 and 50,000. You're kind of working to break through that $50,000 a month range, and that's off of $500 a month in marketing. Like that's really freaking good. So the people who are naive out there be like, oh, you're saying he's not a 7-figure company? What? That's kind of ridiculous. Like it's one dude and it's it's one dude in a VA and it's less than $500. It's amazing, and it's in a really, really hot market. And this is another big thing. Like we have a lot of how many users came to the meetup that you did the other day? It was like 7 of you?
It's like 7, 8, like 8.
7, 8 of you, all in the same market, all closing deals, or at least a couple of you were new, right? But quite a few of you were closing deals.
Oh yeah, like most of us were closing deals.
Yeah, and I know people in the market. Armani, who's
Yeah, they didn't show up.
yeah, he just showed up, or he didn't. His episode for Allies to Prosperity just came out tonight, actually, and he's in the market. He's got a 7-figure operation. There's so much market share, it's ridiculous. And the question you got to ask yourself, if you're inside of a market that's big, is like, are you even getting 1%, 2%, 5% of the market share? If there's 1,000 deals closing in a 30-day period, 90-day period, whatever it is in your market, how many are you closing? Oh, one. No, I haven't closed a deal yet, but the market's saturated. No, you just don't know what you're doing. You got to focus in. You got to figure out where the deal's at. You got to focus on how do you capitalize on the market. It's not a them thing. It's not a it thing. It's a you thing. And as soon as you recognize that and you can kind of plan on how to fix that, and you get clarity and action steps to that, that's what's going to really make you go above the rest and be able to kind of focus on producing revenue and not being stressed out. Another big thing that I'll just throw in there on that note is like, if you're personally stressed out about finances and money and shit like that, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to focus. So it's my belief, that real estate's a really great way to get out of financial strain. But it's also a really great way to put yourself into even more financial strain if you don't focus properly. Don't be one of those types of individuals that just go in right away and like, I don't know, just listen to whatever is said to you like a cog and just do everything all at once. Like, you got to be focused. So, okay. So again, back to my question, from January to now, what was really the biggest, hurdle that you had? And, what did you do to break through that?
I would say, honestly, I had two moments that were like, hey, is this a real gut check? First one was, of course, obviously closing multiple deals in Q1. And I mean, I'd been talking about leaving my job, and I was like, it's kind of easy going. I could take this easy. And it was kind of like, do you want to do this or not? Like, it's now or never. Like, perfect time. Corona happened. You're working from home. You got the money in the bank. Like, let's go. So that was kind of the point of like, hey, you are going to be a business owner and run an operation, but you need to jump. You got to jump. You can't sit here and be comfortable. I would say the second part was during the auto lead challenge. I mean, I halted everything that first week and scrapped everything. And I was like, I need to treat this like it's a 7-figure company, and I've got to respect my time. I've got to respect my efforts, and I'm not doing myself justice right now.
Yeah. It's interesting because like, I strongly, strongly, strongly believe in just doing it, right? Just putting an extreme amount of effort. But I also believe in doing it in such a way that is methodical and it's planned and it's accurate, right? Think of it like a science experiment, right? Like, even when you're working inside of a lab, you're still following the core principles of, the what is it when you repeat things? The hypothesis. Or, yeah, you're still following something, right? It's methodical, it's trackable, it's understanding. And if you do that, if you understand that, you just got to document the things that you do. Like, when you take apart an engine, right? You put tape around it. You tape together the stuff that the bolts that belong where. You take a photo of it. You're understanding, so that when you go to put everything back together, right? You're not like,
yeah,
where did that bolt go? I put this one in here. And then you start the engine, you're hearing like clunking happening, and that clunking is like your wallet hitting the freaking floor because you spent a bunch of money and now your wife is kicking you out the door, and it's just a terrible experience. Okay. The scientific method. Yes, that is what I was thinking of. Not an industry problem, definitely a you problem. 100%, Johnny.
100%.
100%.
It's what you're looking for.
100%. Okay. So we understand it was like, you just need to tell yourself, like, I can do this. I know I can do this. You needed a little bit of structure. What's your plans moving forward? Like, how do you plan to continue to dominate your market? Would you have a plan for growth? We realize got to get an admin VA, clearly.
Yeah.
This a big one, right? They're free. They don't have to be full-time, y'all. They can just be like, okay, I need this done for me real quick, right? They have a schedule. They have their own cadence, So what's your plan for growth? What do you got in the next 90 days moving into the next quarter? How are you going to continue to be, that staple inside of your market?
So I actually do have my game plan going. So again, I mentioned this once or twice, is I'm going to start scaling more with launch control next week. So that's going to be rolling into the last quarter of the year. But for Q4, I'm planning on adding another part-time VA. And so I've got my VA that I had in July. She'll have the whole quarter to ramp up, get adjusted. Then I'm going to bring them both on full-time Q1 2020. But in the meantime, I'm going to run SMS probably until about mid Q4. Just depends how long I can stand it.
I feel like.
But I will always be partial to cold calling because that's how I got my start.
Okay. So you're going to continue cold calling. You're going to add SMS now. Are you going to do it in such a way where no matter what, everybody, I don't know, this is like things that pop in my head, right? Some things that we do. It's like, cool. Like you mentioned earlier, you have like that first kind of get all the no's out the way, right? Get that done at least 3 times, at least hit them 3 times through SMS, move them over to cold calling. Cool. Like kind of like taking those, let's say you got 1,000 records. You get them in your business. They come in. Let's just say 100 of them are incomplete. So now you only got 900. You send them to skip tracing now. Okay. You send them. You're not taking RVA. Fucking, that's funny.
Dude, LaRon's on here. He wasn't supposed to know that. I'm taking her full time.
LaRon,
I'll buy you dinner, dude.
Go
just
take a nap. I think. What is that? Oh, I think your kid needs his diaper changed. LaRon, I think LaRon just locked up some contracts too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, RVA is good. I was gonna say, better get her before me.
I might call. I was like, listen here, I know McKlane and LaRon got you, spun up. I'll bring you full time, and I'll hire all your cousins.
And you get food for life.
Yeah, food for life. So you got 1,000. Now you're at 900 because 100 of them were incomplete. You send them to skip tracing. Let's just say you get an 80% response rate. So now you're down to 600. I think that if that's right, I'll be surprised. But
yeah.
Now you're something like that. It's like now you're down to 600. Okay. So you got 200 that nobody's targeting. You got 100 that is incomplete that nobody even knows about. It's like the void. It's like the ether of data. Ooh, that's a good one. That should be a training. Check this out. My new whiteboard desk. Ether.
Don't put it by your hand.
Yeah, if I should. Yeah, you're right. Ether.
There we go. Right on the wall.
Ether of data. So you have your ether of data. You got that 100. You're going to clean those up, push them to clean by the next month. What are you going to do? What would you do with the other 200 that didn't get any results from the first skip tracing? Would you skip trace that anywhere else, or are you doing that in your business right now?
Yeah, so I skip trace what I can with my new provider, and then whatever doesn't go, I try and skip it with batch skip tracing.
Okay.
That way I can see, okay, can we get a number? Because most people are using one of the main providers. If I can't get a number with this person, it's probably a very good person to target.
Right. So you send it through at least 2 skip tracing of those 200. If they don't have any phone numbers, after those 2 attempts, now you're like, okay, cool. We can do something with this. Maybe we door knock, maybe we send direct mail. Meanwhile, those other 600 that you had the phone numbers for right off the bat, you're going to send SMS through those. You're going to, hit them, and then you're going to get all the no's out the way. You're going to update your data at REI inside your REI Sift account so that you can not have to target them again or target them in 6 months or whatever. After you go through that, any of your non-sends, you're going to probably add to your cold call campaign, call through those, and then you're just going to bounce those back and forth and run through it. And then at the end of it, you're going to have a bunch of people who you haven't been able to get, and you have a couple options. You can either try and re-skip trace them, or you door knock, or you send direct mail. What do you think you would do in your market, in a saturated market? Which one do you think you would choose based off your experience thus far on those people you haven't reached on the phone? Most of these people, I guarantee, don't even know that answer, right? Who that segment of those maybe 300 people that you've tried to reach for the last 90 days that you haven't gotten in contact with, most of them would throw them away and they think they don't want to sell their house. So us being smart, not saying everyone else is dumb, they're just not informed, right? What would you do? Like, what would you do in 90 days from now? Because I recognize that you haven't done since you've understood this concept. You haven't hit a 90-day period to know this and to do this yet. What do you think you will do in
I
your
already know.
market? Huh?
I already know.
What is it?
Actually, okay. So essentially it's door knocking. Okay, so I do two things to get someone. I will door knock them. I'll print off. I actually carry a roll of black duct tape in my truck and some yellow letters, and I duct tape a yellow letter across the door like an eviction notice, and I'll duct tape the door, and that way I can see it from the road, and I'll door knock, and I'll come back like later in the afternoon, and if I can't get that person, or if I come back like a week later and it's still in there, I'll call the relatives. I'm like, hey, like I call it the lost puppy method. Like, hey, I was looking for Tyler. Like, is there a better way to get a hold of him? Or like, I'm trying to get some message over to him regarding this property, or there's some limbs that fell down. Like, I will straight up call the relatives and act
There you
like
go.
I'm completely lost.
Okay.
Like,
So
good.
put some sort of physical identifier to see if they're actually going to the house or not. If someone's there, right? That way you know, and drive past there again, annotate that property, tag it in REISIF probably that you've done that, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to try and call relatives if nothing happens after a week. Try to get a hold of somebody who might know what's going on with this property. What if all that fails?
I'm gonna hire like a private investigator at that point for like $5, and they're gonna
Yeah.
find. Just keep going. Like, there's
Yeah, it's
someone.
like the only
There's
option at that
someone.
point, is to hire a private investigator or start doing a deep search where you just literally just pull every single phone number of this human being you could possibly find, every single relative you could possibly find, and you just continue to do that. You literally have to continue to do that same exact thing over and over and over and over and over, and you just don't give up on it. I'll
I've
give you
actually got a
a
story in
scenario
a second.
yeah, for my actual, like my business. We have a property off of Martin Luther King here, runs back behind me. And at the very corner, there was one at the light, and it looked vacant. I was like, okay, cool. So I pulled in there, I walked around the property and checked it out. It's like, this would be a really nice flip. It's like already gutted, and like gutted in a good way, not like destroyed. So what's up? What's up, Dina? So what ended up happening is we reached out to
Nina.
the agent. It ended up being listed, it turned out, like a year earlier. So we reached out to the agent, come to find out they live down in South Florida. She said that they went to go sell it and something happened. Someone passed away, or I don't know, this, that, or the other, whatever it was. And we continued. The agent was supposed to get me in contact with the seller. We continued to try. I put someone on that task, and that task ended up not ever being complete, and I didn't follow up with it. Well, about 3 weeks ago, I drove past that property again. It was already flipped, sold again. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm like, shoot, man, that's something we could have. I just lost $40,000-$50,000 in my company if it was a flip, right? Depending on what they got it at, minimum $30,000. My average deal size is on my wholesale side is 30. So it's like, that happens all the time, multiple times a year, all the time. And you just don't know what's happening. You don't know how far you were away from it because you don't do it, So it's like, it's frustrating when it happens in your business, right? But if you can tighten up the leaky faucets, and you can fix things with processes, and you can understand what's going on in your business, you can fix this,
Yeah, and I'll throw my 2 cents on just being
right
going further than anybody else is going to go. So there was like a property across from my dad's house, and it'd been vacant for 5-6 years. Of course, I was like in college, high school, and I knew the owner had died. My dad knew the owner had died, and this dude had a daughter, but she'd been bedridden for like 10 years, lived down in like Fort Worth, whatnot. So I couldn't get a hold of her because she couldn't talk. She couldn't talk, didn't pay any of the bills, anything like that. And I was like, this is gonna haunt me until I die. Like, so I went on a mission, like hired a PI, couldn't find her. So I actually found out like the apartment complex she'd last been at, and I called them and I was like, hey, like who's taking care of this property? I can't get her number. Like there's some brushes that fell over, and they had an emergency contact, and it was the great aunt. She was the only surviving family member.
Wow.
And she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad I talked to you. I just went through probate. Like, I just got possession of the house last week. I don't know what to do with it." And I was like, "Your boy."
Boom. Got him. Did you end up getting the deal?
I gave her an offer, and she was like, "I really don't want to sell this to an investor." So she's giving it to the church, and I was like, "Okay, whatever." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it pissed me off. I was like, "Ma'am, like, you could give the money to the church after." And she was like, "I just want to give it to the church."
Worst feeling when a property you've been going after is flipped and sold. Feel robbed. Yeah, 100%.
Right on.
You know, 100%.
Yeah, I
Man.
track everything that's in my area, and if it comes up in like a wholesale deal, I will follow that and I'll track how they got it.
Backtrack. You got to find out. Give them a call. You know, you got to reverse engineer the game. You know, figure out what they did. That's why networking is huge. You know, I can call any one of the people in my mind and be like, "Yo, how did you get a hold of them?" You know, just curious. I was trying to get a hold of them for 12 months and I didn't. You did. You know, they're gonna feel really good. They're gonna say, "Oh yeah, dude, all we did was this." You know,
Yeah.
like you suck. You know, like, okay, thank you for giving me, you know, a way to fix that one leaky faucet I have in my company. You know, uploading your buyers list and finding out what properties are selling from your buyers and then reverse engineer those. There's just tons of ways to do it. You just got to know where to start, and then you got to like focus on that one or two things and then start adding on top of that. Yes, found out what they did. Major gems. Yeah, 100%.
Was it R&D?
Huh?
R&D, rob and duplicate?
Oh, yeah, R&D. One of my mentors says, rob and duplicate, R&D it. I love it. Okay, so we're going on roughly, I don't know, I can't math well, 6:45 to 8:19 now.
Hour and 20? Yeah.
Hour and 20. So what does anybody have any questions for McKlane in general? To give you some context again, if you weren't here from the very beginning, McKlane, you know, started off really starting to close a good amount of deals. He closed his first deal in summer of 2019, started ramping up pretty well in January of 2020. Leading into May, you know, he closed some deals, some good deals, racked up a good sum of money, got enough of a 6-month budget in order to leave his W-2, left his W-2, and now he's bounced between that 30 and 50K a month by himself with only a $500 a month budget. And he's in one of the hottest markets, you know, in the nation. You know, he's doing it methodically, right? So any questions around his process, anything that he does, where he thinks, go ahead and ask it now, because he's got to go home and do all the dishes for his wife because I think she had a party or something.
I'm sure there's going to be dishes left over.
What we got? Let's see here.
We got like 25, 30 people watching.
Just joined 1 hour. Lots of value, guys. Thanks. No problem, Johnny. Appreciate you. You're doing... Wait. You're doing 10 deals with $500 a month. I don't know. He's just doing 10 deals a month right now. He's done 10 deals. Was it January or something like that? Yeah. But you know, they're all small deals, I think is what it was. And he was like getting kind of burnt out. So now he's hyper focused on doing, you know, less with more, or more with less is a better word. You know, kind of like the smart model. I may have missed this. Sorry. That's okay. What does your team look like?
That's what matters.
His team looks like what you're seeing right now.
Me and a VA.
Part-time VA.
Part-time VA, yeah. Part-time.
Yep. 30 to 50 a month. Part-time VA. Every time I listen to McKlane, I get some good nuggets, man. I appreciate you sharing. What was the main change you made in your business to have such a small budget?
We kind of talked about that early on. From the get-go, I was always bootstrapping it, and I just kind of maintained that, like, hey, what's technically below my means? Like, what can I maintain without going out there? Because I had money in the bank in January, February, March, April, May, and I could have easily went and blown it. And I was like, just stay consistent. What are you spending? $100, $200 a month, and then I scaled up to $300, $500 a month now.
Didn't you end up like trying to hire like a bunch of VAs? Your budget, I thought, ended up getting like a bit high, or maybe you were saying it was high, and then I was like, and then we brought you on, and you're like, and I was like, wait, this is only like $500 or something. You're like, yeah, it's getting way too high. I'm like, what? Like, I was so confused.
It might have been, but yeah, I was like at 500 even before the challenge, and I was like, this is too high. Like, this is
Yeah.
insane. Like,
Yeah, I thought there was something like that. I was like, maybe you were, or maybe someone else came on that had like a really low budget, was closing deals or something. You're like, I need to cut back more or something. I don't remember. What lists are you targeting?
so I'm targeting tax delinquencies. That's my kind of my favorite to go after. Tax delinquencies, um, credit card charge-offs, like abstract liens. I love those. Just because it's like, okay, if you went so far that your card got charged off, or you have some kind of debt that got charged off, chances are you're probably one payment away from being on the street.
Love it. McKlane, always bringing the motivation. Do you stick with a single campaign until you've worn it out through all the cycles, then move to another, or do you keep multiples at the same time?
It's kind of a mix. So I don't run any more than about three separate campaigns for myself. My VA, I only have her on high equity absentee. And then for me, I may be hitting vacant. I may only target 2 or 3 stacks just for like 50 or 60 prospects, and then some ouchies. But I will ride that list for about a month. And Philip, I don't know if I told you, but I had a cadence. I have a cadence I go after, and most times I get people to pick up in the first 7-10 days. It's just nonstop call or text messages. Like, I'm gonna get someone to pick up in the first week, or the second time I run them through a cadence.
Perfect. What is your main marketing source and average cost per lead?
Dang, I knew someone would ask me that. I should have had that. My main marketing source, Dina, SMS and cold call. But cold call is still better than SMS for me. Cost per lead for SMS, I would say cost per lead is like $3, $4 for SMS, like for volume. I'd say probably about 10, $15 for SMS. And then for cold call, I don't even.
It's a hard one
That's a
because
hard
it's
metric.
only based off of hourly,
Yeah.
whatever you're paying hourly, and you're the one calling on that a lot, and then they're calling on the other. Well, but a good metric is, you said she's getting 2 or 3 leads a day. How many days a week does she work part-time?
Yeah, part-time, so 5 days a week.
5 days a week part-time. So how many hours is that a week?
4.
Uh,
So 20.
20. So
Yeah,
20.
4
So
days.
that's 80 hours a month, right? And then how much does she cost a month?
She is $480 a month.
480. So 2 or 3.
She's like $6 an hour.
Okay. So 6 times 80, 480. And then let's just say
3
it's
leads a day.
2 times 5, 10, 15, 20. So it's about 40 leads a month. So 480 divided by, what did I say, 40? $12 a lead. About the same, actually, roughly. But one's closing probably more deals than the other. So that's different.
Cold
Cost
call.
per deal is different than cost per lead. So what skip tracing do you use?
So I actually played around. I love to split test things. I think that's kind of my background in being a pre-med major. So I like to play and split test with everything. So I switched from batch skip tracing, which I've been using them from December last year all the way up until about May this year, May, June, and then I started split testing. My favorite one so far right now, it is Skip Force out of Austin, Texas. It's a very small company, but my contact rate has been insane. And there's some other people in the July challenge that tried it, and they're just like, "Where do you find this?" So small plug there, but I don't get any affiliate links on there.
I'll reach out to the owner. Actually,
Yeah.
what was it, Steve Carlson that mentioned that to us initially?
I think Steve did, and then I actually
Yeah.
talked to Greg Hellbeck, and he was like, "Hey, here you go."
Okay. So okay, so we have that, and then you run them through batch, And then maybe odds and ends, maybe you run them through REI Sift. I'll just go ahead and just cry now.
No, REI Sift is on there. REI Sift is like, okay,
Yeah,
if no one gonna hit this, here we go.
yeah, we're the sloppy thirds. It's fine. I get it. It's all right. Everyone needs a good sloppy third sometimes. Happy I can make you run some numbers. I'm proud of you, M. Thank you for the honest value, both of you. It's always the smallest little pivots that make the biggest impact. Sprout. Love it. Thank you so much, Dina. All right. Any other questions for McKlane B. Hobbit?
Bobbit the Hobbit.
Bobbit the Hobbit. Really want to watch that. My favorite is like when they start singing, the dwarves start singing. It's like the best. I love Celtic kind of culture, and now I think dwarves are technically Celtic. I think maybe. I don't know. I just love the I don't know what that symphony music.
Symphony, yeah.
I don't even know what that would be technically. What else we got? Anything at all? Anything at all? We give it like 2 or 3 minutes. In the meantime, McKlane, what would you tell people that are just getting started as far as, wanting to leave their W-2 or not? Would you give any advice for those that are trying to leave a W-2?
Honestly, for a W-2, have a plan. I'm telling you, like, have all your ducks in a row and be ready so you don't have to get ready. Thankfully, I was able to tell my W-2, hey, I'm out. Bye, guys. And leave on my own terms rather than being forced or thrust into a position where I was like, hey, I need to think now. Plan your exit. Definitely have all your ducks lined up. Just have a plan. Don't wing it. Like, you're about to start a business that will probably change your life. And why would you treat it like it's just a challenge or like some off the wall game? But I don't know if you'll let me take off for a second on this, but I mean,
Yeah, good.
was it mid 2018? I've been married for like a year, and I mean, wholesaling literally changed our lives. I mean, I'll shoot straight with a lot of y'all because I know a lot of people have reached out to me and they're like, hey, I'm looking for my first deal. But like mid 2018, newlywed, living in a rental, could barely afford. There was days that like electricity would get shut off, and my wife's like, is this getting paid? Or like I would come home and she'd be like, hey, there's like Girl Scout cookies and ramen noodles in here. What are we doing? And that wasn't too long ago. But you've got to buckle down. You've got to have a game plan because your actions now, you may not see the success or the fruits of your labor now or next month. It may take 6 months. It may take a year. It took me 8 months to close my first deal, and it was a 7K popper. Like
8 months. That is $900 a month, maybe something like that. Yeah.
And my wife was like, "You're stupid," the whole time. And then when she saw the check, she was like, "Go do it again."
Fix it. There's something broken. Fix it. But you did. So that's the biggest thing. Thank you for sharing. Amazing. For some fun, how was the golfing?
It was pretty good. I think I hit 5 golf balls, and then the rest of it was talking and networking with everybody else.
Wow. Okay. I suck at golfing, so I would have just drank. I would do. I'd be like, I would drink and I would tell everyone else that they're suck at golfing. All right, y'all. Dude, man, I really appreciate you hopping on. It's great speaking with you, man. I'm sure that everybody else really enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed the questions, enjoyed hearing your story. It's not too often that somebody, goes from, working at W-2 or really college to W-2 to, leaving to continuing to be successful and maintain such a small budget. So good on you, man. I look forward to seeing all the growth moving forward. Appreciate you being part of the REI Sift community. If anybody, wants to join the Auto Lead Gen Challenge, definitely check it out, autoleadgenchallenge.com. And then you can check out REI Sift at reisift.io. McKlane, man, how can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, McKlane.bobbit. Make it really easy for y'all. Also on Facebook, reach out to me, message me if you got any questions. I will tell you I do time block, so I don't answer messages like right off the bat unless it's Tyler. Even my grandma gets pushed to the afternoon before I even respond to her. But I'll reach out to y'all, or if y'all message me, I'll reply.
Love it. Sorry, re-say your Instagram handle?
McKlane.bobbit.
McKlane.bobbit. So your name.
Yep.
With a dot. Must be nice to have a unique name. All right, cool. So they can reach out to you there. You can find me on Instagram as well, Tyler Austin Original. YouTube, just search Tyler Austin. I'm almost taking over. So close to taking over that freaking
the baseball player.
So close, man. But I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys so much. Again, McKlane, man, thank you for being on. Be safe, y'all. And if you guys have any questions at all, comment somewhere on one of the places where you're watching this that we're streaming to. And McKlane will, I'm sure, answer. Just make sure you tag him. I think he's in every group that I've shared this to. So bug him and, make his time that he does have at the end of the day filled with providing value to others. I know he'd like to do that. So thank you guys so much, dude. Again, thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Tyler.
Later.